look. Hold on. There we go. Oh, are you on vacation, Nick?
Hey, yeah, sorry. I was just golfing and I just made it at home in time to grab dinner and make it back with my green curry. I do apologize. I was there.
Perfect.
So I am here if you're asking. How's everyone today?
Everyone's good.
We are good. I'm going to officially call this meeting to order at 6:34 p.m. First up on the agenda is roll call. Colby is excused. Catherine, me, I am here and I'm going to be chairing the meeting in his absence. Arthur,
Here.
present. Thank you. Robin.
Here.
And Nick. Nick.
Here.
Yeah, I know you're here. All right. So for open public forum, if anyone would like to speak, go ahead and raise your hand now. I don't think we have any dial-in folks, so you can just go ahead and hit the raise your hand button. All right. I've seen Jonathan, David, and Brandon. So we're going to start. Jonathan, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you all being here. It's nice to see you again, even though I may not know you personally. What I would like to talk about are 3 things: the budget, the expenditures, and the grants occurring in the neighborhood council here. I'd like to do it in this meeting, the executive meeting, rather than the general board meeting, because there's probably fewer people here, and my goal is not to make a spectacle of anything, but rather find ways to make everything stronger and more representative, okay? These 3 things, the budget, the expenditures, and the grants, are transparent. Some of them take work because it's malorganized. Nevertheless, I've been looking into things. They should look equitable, fair, and at arm's length, okay? So I'd like to first talk about the budget. It's a $32,000 a year budget. You should all be familiar with that. Certainly Arthur is. There was a previous meeting where kind of antennas went up and Arthur was asked a question having to do with social media. And it wasn't at all a comfortable moment. It was obvious to me immediately. There's $12,000 on a line item in the budget for social media. I looked at NoHo Neighborhood Council right near us. They have a line item of $600. So I call your attention to that because it needs work. It needs to be broken down and real understood what the money's going to, who's getting it, because who's being chosen comes up in my next point having to do with grants. When I looked into the grants that were awarded, if that's a proper word, to beautification partners, I wasn't at all comfortable with the lack of any knowledge of multiple bids, and I wasn't comfortable with that, with who got awarded the work to do work in Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council District. It appears to be a firm down from Redondo Beach, and I did do some exploration and came up with theories of my own, but it wasn't a good display that the neighborhood council isn't searching out local people perfectly capable of landscaping, minions, etc. There's plenty of starvation right here in the Greater Toluca Lake area if you open up your eyes and you look at it. So I bring this to the point of the executive board's attention that it needs more work, that it isn't okay. It makes a bad public display of a neighborhood council. And I recommend that you pay attention more and do some changes, do some breakdowns and more investigations when money is being spent to make sure it's equitable, fair, meaning across the district, Greater Toluca Lake, and at arm's length, that it doesn't appear to be giving a predisposition to anyone making choices that aren't in the best interests of the whole community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'm going to go ahead and lower your hand.
Thank you.
All right, next up is David. You should be able to unmute yourself, David.
Hi, this is
You have
David
3
Wheatley.
minutes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Go ahead.
Great, thank you. Yes, thank you for calling on me. Yeah, I'd like to, actually, can you come back to me? Would you mind if I go a second? I'm trying to talk on a Zoom right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hi,
I'll
this
go
is
ahead and
David.
mute you. Are you going now, or do you want to go in a moment? Okay. All right, Brandon, you should be able to unmute yourself, Brandon Pender.
Okay, yeah, Brandon Pender, I'm your budget advocate for Region 4, one of supposedly 3. I wanted to, I guess, reintroduce myself because I hadn't been at the meeting since I guess the new board has been seated. The only person I really recognize is Arthur, who is also a budget rep and your treasurer. So I wanted to remind you that the budget day went very well this past August 21st. If you want to see any of the videos from there, you can go to budgetadvocates.org to watch our videos and some of the breakout sessions there, and also some of the city officials that spoke during that particular time. And if you didn't get a chance to attend or didn't know about the budget day on August 21st, it's an annual event, so it happens once a year. Real quick, also, we're now going to be gearing up with setting up appointments with meeting with department heads of the city, as well with the mayor and other members of the city council. So anybody who's interested, you don't really have to be a budget advocate or even a budget rep to participate with some of the committees. You can just be an interested party that's involved with a neighborhood council. And if you need to, you can contact me. My email address is brandonpender@yahoo.com, or you can contact Arthur, and Arthur can send me an email regarding that, and I'll put you in touch with the members of the different committees. And once we get the committees situated, and you can come and participate and write in our white papers, which really do need the input from the neighborhood councils. I mean, really people that are not so invested as budget advocates or budget reps, but people that maybe run a committee in the neighborhood councils or another board function or something like that, and you can put your 2 cents in and basically get involved so we can have the neighborhood councils all around basically recognize the white papers. And that's not really what really happens so often. A lot of times when we bring the white paper in front of the neighborhood councils, they have nothing to do with it, so they can't really relate to anything that's there because it doesn't relate to them or relate to the situation with that neighborhood council. And so we want to be able to have everybody have an input. So if you can do that, that would be really great. And that way we can everybody can be involved. So you don't have to be a budget advocate to participate, to have your name up there as a participant in the white paper and meet with the and even you might even be able to chair a committee. So you don't have to be a budget advocate or a budget rep to chair a committee that we put together for the white paper. So it's the involvement and the inclusiveness is really important, that we have everybody involved. So everybody has a stake in this. So I wanted to remind you that. So, but again, you go to budgetadvocate.org and you'll get to know what's going on with the budget advocates, the different videos that we have, the town hall videos that we have and everything, and read some of our past white papers and get to know how the budget is being put together by the city and have your input as well. And then
Great.
hopefully.
Thank you, Brandon. Are you going to be at the general meeting as well next week?
Yes, I am. And I most definitely will be at the general meeting next week. If you can give me some time. Reason why I came to the executive board meeting because I wasn't sure about today because everything's crazy today with this election thing going on. And but if I don't, then I will certainly be there next month. And if hopefully I can have enough time to give you a more comprehensive report on that.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Next up
I don't see David Wheatley anymore.
Yeah, I believe that
he
he said
got
that
off.
he was on another Zoom call as well.
Okay. Oh, wait, he just popped back on.
He just came back on. I see Tess has her hand up, so I'm going to go ahead.
All right.
Tess, you should be able to unmute yourself. You got 3 minutes.
Here, can you hear me?
Yep.
Excellent. If Brandon is still there, or even if he isn't, is it still the case that budget advocates are selected by the neighborhood council, or do we just volunteer, or how does that work precisely? My understanding is that the liaison is selected by the president. Is that correct?
Brandon is still on. Do you want to speak?
Yeah,
to this?
Brandon, are you able to answer that question of how the budget advocates are selected?
Unmute.
Yes, I am. The budget advocates are elected. What happens is that each neighborhood council has to appoint 2 budget reps. Those budget reps are basically involved in the budget advocate election. So like, for instance, not all budget reps want to be budget advocates because it does require a lot of time. And and as a budget rep, you don't have to do as much at all, period. Just communicate with the budget advocate, or vice versa. Really, budget advocate really should be communicating with you. And so it's basically you stand for, if you're interested and you're a budget rep and you want to be a budget advocate and you want to stand for election, you once a year during August, but like a year from this 21st, August 21st, there will be an election of everybody in your district or your region, which is Region 4.
Brandon, if I may, you've actually, I think you've answered my question. I'm not sure that I want to get that deeply into it just yet, but the question was about how to just become a budget rep from the neighborhood council committee level. I didn't realize that you could go on to become elected, but that's good to know. And thank you very much for that.
Okay, then. Thank you.
All right, Tess, did you have anything else you wanted?
Nope, I just wanted
address?
to ask about that. Thank you.
Okay. All right, I see David is back. So David, I'm going to go ahead. You should be able to unmute yourself now. You've got 3 minutes.
Great, thank you. And thanks for, sorry, that was a little bit haphazard. I've become so cool now. I'm on multiple Zoom calls at the same time.
Aren't we all?
It's a measure of
Used to be.
coolness. That's what I'm going to go with. Thanks. All right. I'm a stakeholder in Toluca Lake, and I'd like to suggest a paradigm for all of us when we're driving the beautiful streets of Toluca Lake. This may be invisible to many people, and it may be alarmist, the sky is falling down, Chicken Little and all that, but there are massive hedge funds out there on a global basis that are raising money from investors by the billions. And their task is to buy up as much housing as possible and rent it out to people for as much as possible. This includes, they have their hands into single family neighborhoods, multi-unit, what they call commercial corridors. They have their hands into the politicians through campaign contributions and getting laws passed to make it easier for them to accomplish their goals. And so what we have now with the passing of Senate Bills 9 and 10, that's a really good example of that. And I'm going to be going to a seminar in a couple of weeks to find out how much it actually costs for people who want to buy a politician to get the votes that they need to be able to implement their strategy. So when I and you drive down, say Riverside Drive, and we see the nice one-story structures along there, and then we see the four-story ones, those got in there by the big money that came in. And I'll use the word enslave renters. The more the country and the world is a world of renters, the more these business entities can make money and then invest the money to do it even more. So if they say we're a nation of renters and everybody says, well, so this is a big deal. We're supposed to be a nation of owners where people buy things, they increase in value, and we're able to do things with them to benefit ourselves and our neighbors and our families and anybody else that we want to. And these rights are being taken away and sold off by our politicians, including Miss Rahman and anybody else who has a CD district. They sell off the height and they sell off the density and the floor ratios to get as many units as possible, the setback, which is the distance from the front and the sides, to the building to reduce that as much as possible. They're selling off these public interests to the developers, and we can barely see this happening. So I invite each and every one of you and anybody else who's listening, when you're driving around, look and see what's happening and how subtle it is. And there is a lot that we can do about this, and we need to get on it. And we're several years past due.
Thank
So,
you,
thank you.
David. I would encourage you to really get involved with planning and land use committees, both within the GTLNC and to attend as a member of the public the city council's planning and land use committees.
Thank you. And I encourage this committee to back me up and not leave it up to me. Thanks for the suggestion.
Thank you. I'm gonna lower your hand.
Okay.
All right. Do we have any other public comment at the moment? Seeing none. Any board member news and announcements? I
Can
should say
just-
committee member news.
Can
and
I
announcements.
just tell the committee that the Neighborhood of Congress is coming up on September 25th, I believe is the date. And I sent the entire board the information about it. And I suggest you go online and look at the workshops. There's a lot of really interesting workshops. You know, pick one that sounds interesting to you. It's an all-day event. It's all via Zoom. And it's all free, and you do not have to even be on a neighborhood council just to go. It's really informative. It's really interesting. Nick, it might be good for you to attend some of these because there's some social media information. And, you know, I know you're really trying to really get the word out about the neighborhood council, and it might be a great way to introduce yourself to some of those people. So just a suggestion. That's it.
I have every intention of going to that for sure.
Oh, great. Yeah, I hear it's fantastic. I actually I registered for it, so I'm planning to go too.
Oh, you're gonna go too? Hey, do me, I'm gonna register. You know what? I'll register it.
Register.
But just kick me in the shin the day of and just be like, hey, I'm going, you know? Anyway.
I see Tess has her hand up. Tess, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. Is this a question about the Congress of Neighborhood Councils?
No, I don't know if this is the appropriate place to do it, or if it should be a public comment. I just wanted to mention that our CD4 rep, Mehmet Berker, is meeting with some people in our neighborhood next week to discuss some landscaping issues that are at Sarah and Vineland. Well, we are planning landscaping there with his help and with the help of, I think, one of the utility companies, which is going to make it a more beautiful corner and hopefully do away with some of the trash and encampments that seem to collect there like magnets. So we're really pleased that he's helping us, and I just wanted to make that known. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
With some new business, I would like to bring up, if I may.
Mhm.
That there was a nice cleanup today. And one of the things that was brought up to me that I think is an interesting idea that we should kick around is an idea of paying for bags of trash. First off, where do they get all this trash from? I cannot figure it out. It's just like somebody comes by with a dumpster and just dumps it on the ground. Like, where do they get it from?
I mean, they might be getting it from dumpsters.
Right, literally, right? But some people I know, I was literally having a drink with somebody the other night with Colby, and he said that he took a couch down there out of the goodness of his heart. And my head just wanted to go, oh my God, because that couch ends up there and then in a week and a half ends up all over the ground because it's going to get ripped in half and all this kinds of stuff. And I feel like a lot of stuff is going there because people bring them things. And I feel like I don't want to be like this cruel person that says you can't help the homeless, but I just want to cement the idea in people's heads that we need to be giving intelligently and not helping to the problem. The other thing I would like to investigate is actually paying them $10 a bag to clean up the damn trash. We go there one day, we can even see if we could use our funds to do it, on weekends and stuff like that. Send somebody, I'll do it. I don't care, and put $100 in cash in my pocket, and I'll give $10 a bag of trash. And then we have sanitation come and take the bags away and see if we can get a pilot program or something working. And, see if we can just pay them to clean up after themselves, something.
I mean, that's an interesting idea. Maybe, I don't know how able we are as a neighborhood council to pay individuals. I know that even for us,
Right.
like city contracts are just complicated and they usually don't let us
Right.
hand out money.
Right.
But maybe explore with CD4 or
I
a
emailed Mehmet about it.
group like LASA or something that might be able to do an NPG, and we could partially fund a program like that.
Yeah, I emailed Mehmet about it, and he got back to me today, and we'll go back and forth on it. And yeah, definitely. But it's something that the biggest, first we get the trash taken care of, and then we help the people out of the situation that they're in. And and one of the things that I did notice as well that Sean noticed today, Sean sent me a series of pictures, and that they were gone. They weren't there. I don't know what happened. And
There was a cleanup. Are you talking about Lancashire?
Yeah.
There was a cleanup.
there was a cleanup, but there also wasn't. There was like one person there. There were a lot of people that were gone. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that outreach came and we relocated a significant amount of people. Now, what I'd like to see is them not come back. And I would love ideas from everybody on what we can do. Because I don't know what the answer to that is, but I know that, they came through today and they did their jobs today. Now, the problem is that tomorrow it's going to look like it did before. And the question is how do we prevent that?
Yeah, and Nick, I think we're just about at the 3 minutes. So
I'm
I would
sorry, I
encourage you-
apologize. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would encourage you to, as you do your work with the homeless ad hoc committee,
Yeah.
keep us updated, and let everybody know how they can get involved and how they can help with these opportunities.
Well, I should do the ad hoc. I was going to wait. I do a series of them. I don't even care how often. I like them. So I just like to sit there and rap about it. So I'll set that up. Hopefully next week we'll get the first ad hoc committee meeting going. And so people can feel that, what's going on, but there is movement. And I just would hope people notice that there's cleanups and, we're doing what we can. But we need help from the public too. So.
Thank you. Arthur,
And
you got your hand up.
Catherine, Nick, can I just add that when you do decide to do the ad hoc, we need to get it out on social media and on the website when that's going to be so that people can attend. So just
for sure.
a heads up. Thanks.
I will do.
Arthur, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I had a couple thoughts and they're kind of related to Nick's. And in my neighborhood, I kind of take it upon myself with a couple trash bags and you'll be amazed at the amount of trash that's just not just within the homeless encampments, but just down the streets around places. And I actually had the thought that maybe we could just have, like targeted, cleanup days or whatever it is. Like we'll have a cleanup day for a certain intersection or something like that, where we can just get CD4 involved with their help. And I know we do Riverside, but there's other parts of Toluca Lake that could possibly use it as well.
Nick, that's a wonderful idea. And, if you put the word out, I know that the cleanups that are done on Riverside are done by the local community. So if you know of neighbors within your area, you'd be amazed how quickly that would spread if that you said or put signs out, clean up Saturday from 8 to 10 and just show up with gloves and trash bags. People will show up and they will.
And Arthur, I think that's a great idea. I think if we want to sort of try to make a little bit of an official schedule of, once a month, there's a cleanup somewhere in the area, as you were saying. And we just all know, third Sunday of every month or whatever it is cleanup day. And we can have that sort of on our website. We can put it in our newsletter, make sure that it gets promoted. I think that would be great. let us know how we can help. All right, any other board member news and announcements? I think we've hit every board member or committee member, I should say. All right, then on to motion A, approve the GTLNC August 10th, 2021 exec minutes. Do I have a first?
First that.
Nick?
Thank you, Nick. Do I have a second?
Arthur.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur. Any discussion on the minutes? If you're a member of the public, feel free to raise your hand. All right, seeing no discussion, we'll proceed to a vote. Arthur, how do you vote?
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
and I am a yes as well. So that is 4-0-0, motion carries. Minutes are approved. Thank you. Motion B, approve the GTLNC September 21st, 2021 General Board Agenda. Do I have a first?
Robin?
Thank you, Robin. Do I have a second?
Arthur.
Thank you, Arthur. Any discussion on the agenda for this month's general board meeting? I saw Tessa's hand go up, but it's gone back down. Tess, okay. Do you? Tess, I've given you permission to talk. Were you trying to raise your hand?
Yes,
or-
yes,
Okay.
yes. So I actually raised it before you went to the motions. I don't know if I have to unraise it and re-raise it, but to Arthur's point about the cleanup, I'm already organizing that with Mehmet, although I think a regular cleanup would be good. And we had just decided and discussed that we are going to do it when it's a little cooler. We have a whole team of people ready to go, but I intended to announce that when we have dates, probably early October. And I see no reason why we couldn't do that once a month. That's probably about the limit of people's endurance, but we can certainly do them more often. So there's that. And then my second question is the September 21st agenda. Has that been posted? Is that on the website or because I didn't see it?
It's under docs, under docs.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. I haven't actually checked if it's on the website.
It
Just
should be
looking
in
at the
zip
copy that was
drive
emailed.
with the MER and the
Yes.
draft minutes. Mhm.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. On motion B, approve the GTLNC September 21st General Board Agenda. How do you vote? Nick?
Damn. You know what? No, never mind. I can still do it. Can I bring something up still or no?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why don't you finish what you're doing and then I'll do it afterwards. I apologize. Can I do it after you're doing what you're doing?
Well, what I'm doing is voting to approve it. So do you
Right.
need to make a change on it or have a
No,
question about it?
no. I
Okay.
just wanted to bring something else up, something different up.
But is this about the general board agenda, Nick, or is this from?
It could
prior?
be new business. It can be new business.
Okay, then we'll keep it until new business.
I apologize.
So we'll proceed to a vote on motion B, approve the GTLNC September 21st General Board Agenda.
Right.
On this matter, how do you vote? Arthur?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. So 4-0-0, motion carries. And Nick, if it's about something that's not on the agenda, let's hold it until new business for now. Is that
For
all
sure.
right?
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Next up is the treasurer's report. And Arthur, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to share screen.
Okay, and while that's happening, I'll read the motion. So we have motion. It's not up. There we go. Motion C, approve the August 2021 MERN expenditures for reconciliation submission to the city clerk. Do we have a first?
Catherine.
A second? I'll be the second.
Yeah.
Thanks, Arthur.
Okay. So we had finished August with $29,871. We had some operating expenses. They include Google for $122 and then MailChimp for $26. And then we finished September with $29,723. So it was just the email server as well as the MailChimp email blast. Do we have any questions or comments?
My only question is, usually we'd have our social media management. Is this one of those months where we just didn't get the bill in time for it to be part of this?
Yeah. So what most likely will happen is next month will just be doubled invoice. So, or 2 invoices processed.
All right. Any questions from the public on this? I don't see any hands up. All right, Arthur, I'd say you can proceed to a vote.
Okay.
Do you want to
Catherine?
do roll call? Do you want me to?
Oh, sure. Go ahead, do roll call.
Okay. Arthur, on motion C, approve the August 2021 MER and expenditures for reconciliation submission to the city clerk. Arthur, how do you vote?
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
thank you, Nick. And I'm a yes as well. So 4-0-0, motion carries. All right. Do you want to stop sharing?
Sure. I'll do
Arthur?
that right now. Sorry. There we go.
Although it is beautiful.
Yes. The color scheme, it's very
You do a wonderful job, Arthur.
all right. So for ongoing business, first up, we've got our mailbox update. I don't have an update on this, but Robin, do you have an update on where that contract process is?
Still waiting. We were approved, Arthur, right? We're just still waiting
Right.
to get the approval from the city.
Right. It's still kind of going through their contract approval process.
Yeah.
So that should be finished, rather soon. So I'll ping the city clerk just to get an ETA for the day that they'll be able to kind of give us a thumbs up.
Okay. And then, but temporarily, we are using the Toluca Lake address, which is the Ramsey Schilling office. So all of you put that on the bottom of your committee agendas.
Thank you. Any questions or any discussion on this item? Hearing none, seeing none. Next up is
The youth board.
the youth board seat. So I believe based on the agenda for our next meeting, on the 21st at our general meeting, we'll be voting to approve the candidate that was selected for serving as youth board member for the next year. And that individual is Jake Tiddick. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, that's correct. Mhm.
Great. Any questions, any comments on this? Anything else, Robin, that we need to touch on this?
No. just that we will be voting on him at the next meeting. And I believe he will be at the meeting to greet us all and reintroduce himself. And if you remember, I think I wrote on the general board agenda that he attends Notre Dame High School. He's 16. I believe he plays volleyball, and he does live in Toluca Lake, which I guess he'd have to be. He's going to be a youth board seat holder.
He's got to have some sort of stake here.
He's gotta have
He could
some stake.
technically work here. He
Yeah,
could,
that's true. Or go
he
to
could
school.
work in the
Sure,
area.
Sure. But yeah,
The other guy isn't running then? It's just him?
No, it's
So
go ahead.
the way that it works right now is that rather than select between candidates, the president will select a candidate and the board will vote whether or not to approve or reject that candidate. It's similar to how like the Senate would confirm an appointment to a judgeship or a cabinet position.
Whatever. Yeah. Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good. But he'll have. Yeah. Okay. I mean, we can say, yeah. But he does have tie break. I mean, he does actually have some power, right? In 7-7 situations, he is the tiebreaker.
He absolutely could be a tie-breaking vote, the youth board seat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Or rather, I guess he would be a tie-creating vote, and then Colby could be a tie-breaking
Tiebreaker,
vote, depending
right.
on what it is.
How you want to do
Putting a lot of pressure on him.
I see Jonathan's hand up. Jonathan, you should be able to unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I just wanted to mention again that I had recommended that the board consider this process of the president nominating a candidate, and then the board merely vote on that candidate. I think it's more appropriate. You're not, how do you say this? Protecting young people from the savagery of life is really not the way to go. So there's nothing wrong with young people running, feeling the sensation of running against each other or whatever. What is wrong is here, just like Nick just said, the president is choosing someone that in essence can have a big influence on the way things go, with everything with the exception of financial, where they're not allowed to vote. Thank you.
Yes, and I would encourage anyone who is interested in this subject to attend our Governmental Affairs Committee meeting, where we are working on updating the bylaws. And this is one of the topics that's been brought forward as a potential option to have selections of the candidates, whether it is for the youth board seat or for committee chair seats, or replacing someone if an executive committee member steps down from that position. So we have brought this up as a potential option, and we are not voting on those bylaw changes right now, but we're hoping before the end of this year we'll be able to do a significant revision of the bylaws. All right, anything else on the youth board seat? Otherwise, next up is the grievance committee, which again, the general board agenda, we're going to be noting that our grievance committee is Jay Goldberg, Tim Hawkins, and Sol.
Saul
Robin,
Agilat. Saul
it's
Agilat.
Agilat. Okay. And any questions on that? Any comments? See Jonathan's hand up. Jonathan, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Thank you. I wanted to point out that in those, in the Committee of Government Affairs, I give you lots of notes. And on that, just in case you missed it, was a recommendation that you consider, rather than doing things, focusing energy on things that have no productivity. Think about electing a grievance committee within 5 weeks of an actual grievance. That way you end up with a grievance committee that is, it's robust. They understand the subject, and you're not picking them almost a year earlier, and they might not even live here anymore. Who knows? So that's my recommendation, is not to do things you don't need to. I don't think you'll ever need a grievance committee, but if you do, you can elect it when you have the grievance. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay, anything else on the grievance committee? All right, we'll jump into new business. And I know, Nick, you've got some stuff to add, but I'm going to very quickly just touch on, we received an NPG, which is a neighborhood purpose grant application from Rio Vista Elementary School. It's a request for 7 benches. The total dollar value requested is $7,689.53. And I do want to note, Rio Vista is in a little bit of a quote unquote gray area in our district, just because we do share Rio Vista with another neighborhood council, but they are still part of our neighborhood council. We have both Toluca Lake Elementary and Rio Vista. So we received this NPG application, and for a little bit of background, this is some precedent. We have received similar requests from the elementary schools in our district before, related to picnic benches or tables, picnic tables and benches. And I do want to remind everyone that we do not have to approve the entire funding request for a neighborhood purpose grant. We can reduce the amount if we want to. We are also not voting on this tonight. This is on the agenda so that people are aware that we've received it, but there's not a motion on tonight's agenda or on the general board agenda to actually vote on this yet. That being said, I see a few hands going up, so we're going to go ahead and do public comment on this. Sean, I saw your hand go up first. So go ahead, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, folks. I'm just curious for this $7,000. I'm kind of curious to see what we're getting for our $7,000. I mean, is there a quantity of benches? What kind of benches? Because for my old company, when I was working, I was able to get a quality bench from Uline for about $500, and that thing was indestructible. So I'm not sure. What they do we have an opportunity? Did they pick these benches out themselves and saying, hey, these are the benches we want? Or do we get like a line item to see quantity, cost, and all that other good stuff?
So yeah, this is one of the items that's actually in the documents. If you download that zip file from our website, you can see the full NPG application, and I'll just read it out loud. The funding request is for a beautification project for 7 new picnic tables for our lunch area and student quad area. Rio Vista Elementary serves a community of about 400 students and families. Various community events are held at the school, including our School Harvest Festival, Read Across America in partnership with NBC Universal, the Rio Vista Hidden Garden in collaboration with the LA City Parks and Rec, and multicultural musical events sponsored by Education Through Music Los Angeles. So this would be for 7 picnic tables, that total. And I have to admit, I don't know exactly where that money is going. I don't see the attached documentation that it references with regard to a breakdown of that pricing, but oftentimes that pricing includes not only the picnic benches themselves, but also some measure of labor for installation. And, because it's a city effort, because it's LAUSD, there are probably some restrictions on what kind of labor that they can hire for this.
Just so I understand exactly what we're being asked to do, we're just being asked to support them getting the funding. We're not actually doing the funding ourselves, are we?
No, we would be funding it. So it's a neighborhood
come out of our
purpose grant.
$32,000.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So this money, if we were to approve all of it or a portion of it, would come from our $32,000 budget.
So I'm going to go talk to Tammy, pardon me, Miss Fernandez tomorrow, who's my daughter's principal. We're going to have a little talk about what $7,000 is getting us. I know that in the picnic table area, it does have an overhang. And if they have to extend the overhang in order to do it, that's the area where I could see why that would make some sense. But I'm going to sit down and have a discussion. She wants me to She wants me to push this through. She's asked me to do this.
So Nick,
Help
I
her
would
then.
say, just a flag on that, if you are a parent at the school,
Mhm.
that means you have a conflict of interest. So you wouldn't be allowed to participate in discussion when this is up for a vote, and you wouldn't be allowed to vote in it. You'd actually have to recuse yourself. So just a heads up.
Okay. So in that case, do you want me to go find out what we're getting for $7,000, or should I just stay out?
You're more than welcome to talk to her and ask questions, but I would say you are not allowed to participate as a board member. And you can certainly let her know that these are going to be questions that people will have about what we're getting for it. So when this is up for a vote, she or someone representing the school should attend so that they can answer the questions that the public will have.
Okay.
Like,
And you're
what are we really
100%
getting for
sure,
it?
you're 100% sure that my kid going there creates a conflict?
Yes.
100%, yes.
All right, cool. I just want to make sure. I I don't know. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because you
that's fine.
get more benefit than the average member of the public.
yeah, I get it. I get it.
All right, Sean, did you have any other questions?
No. I'm just trying to find the document. I'm lost on our website, unfortunately.
It's under docs for today's meeting.
Okay.
All right,
Heading
I'm
there
gonna
now.
lower your
Thanks.
hand.
And I have a question, so I'll wait till after the public speaks.
Okay, next hand that I saw go up was Jonathan. Jonathan, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. Catherine, thank you for bringing up that conflict of interest and explaining that. That shows the importance of board members understanding the bylaws, the conflicts of interest, all of that. Catherine is 100% correct. And normally at another neighborhood council, not only do you not participate in the discussion, but that board member is expected to leave the forum for the duration of the discussion and certainly not vote. So there's a lot of demonstrated commitment toward that non-conflict of interest. I wanted to mention, having to do with this request for money from Rio Vista School, the appearance of inequitable expenditures that would occur if you were to give this school $7,000 or $8,000 or anything. Right now, you're spending $3,000 to pick up trash for the wealthiest corridor, the wealthiest concentration of residents in the greater Toluca Lake area through that grant or whatever you call it, distribution of money to beautification partners who's actually picking up the trash. Yet you're spending $0 to collect the trash from the most destitute residents of greater Toluca Lake, who are found, as already mentioned, on the corner there of Lancashire, and that'll probably reappear, just like Nick said. That would be the place to be collecting trash and spending money, making some impact, some equitable impact in the community. Also, we have public schools that are funded by the taxpayers of Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council through their property tax. And there's no reason for you to be taking the limited funds of the Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council and directing it in the school that looks like there's something going on. You've already spent $1,000 on April 8th, January, February, March, April 8th of 2009 for 2 picnic benches. And I'm with Nick. What kind of benches are going in to a school that benefits 400 families in the Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood District or whatever? And with all of this stuff going on in the streets where people are not only living in misery, but they're dying, and the crime, it has to be faced because you look like you've got your heads in the sand. I hope you don't, but your actions look like your heads are in the sand, and you have to do actions. You have to spend money in a manner that looks like you're in touch with the community and the gamut of life experiences in it, not just the gamut of people who are, who have. Thank you very much. I don't want to go on and on.
Thanks, Jonathan. I'm going to go ahead and lower your hand. All right, next up, I see David Wheatley. You should be able to unmute yourself.
Great, thank you very much. Yeah, normally when I come to a meeting like this, there's something that I can click on to find all the documents, and I'm now on the Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council looking at Executive Committee, and looks like this meeting is already over. Looks like the next one is October 12th and no way to get into this one and nobody announced it and it's not on the
Once
agenda.
the meeting begins, that prompt goes away. We are working on that to try to make it stay for at least a few hours so that if the meeting continues, people can still find it. But the way the calendar works, and that was addressed and we are working on that. So thank you.
And I do want to note, if you go to the committee page and scroll down to the bottom, you can see an archive of all of our agendas, minutes, and meeting documents. And you can find the documents there. But yeah, we do apologize. We're working on fixing
We're
the
working
website.
on the website.
Well, that's really great. I think the website looks really good now that I'm looking at it. But unfortunately, I heard about this a couple of meetings ago, which would be 2 months ago, and still working on it.
We are
Really?
still working on it. It's a new
Still
board. We
working
have
on
new
it,
people
and,
working on it.
I just want to say how uncool it is. I think it's great to bring this up just for discussion, but all I see is NPG for Rio Vista request for 7 benches and a huge amount of money. Looks like 25% of the whole annual budget going for benches, and we don't know anything about this. And this is not a good way to run things. There's lots of room on here. I've got a whole extra page here on the agenda, page 3, under translation services, 2/3 of a page. It could go perfectly well on there, and it didn't. And I think this is no good. This is no way to run a neighborhood council. And yeah, I think we have to be really careful how we use our money. This taxpayers' money. Not everybody agrees with how things get voted in by neighborhood councils. And there needs to be a lot more input and other alternatives suggested and requested. That guy who said $500 for a bench that can withstand hurricanes, I presume. We ought to be looking into that, and earthquakes. And yeah, the people who turn in these NPGs, and I've seen them in other places, they're insiders brought in by people on the council. I have a friend on the inside who's expected to get it through. Maybe there's a conflict. Maybe they acknowledge it. Maybe they don't. Hopefully they do. And they have to sit outside and take a time out, which is good. But still, these things need a lot more scrutiny. And I encourage everybody on here to speak up. And let's make sure that every dollar of taxpayer money is being used to benefit all the community. Thanks.
Thank you, David. I'm going to go ahead and lower your hand. I
Thank
do
you.
want to reiterate, although this is for the amount of almost $7,700, we are under no obligation to approve the full amount of any NPG that we receive. I want to make that absolutely clear. All right, next up I see Tess. Tess, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Hi, guys. Thank you very much. So, yeah, I have a couple questions. Has anyone seen these benches?
I haven't. It does note in the NPG application that there's attached documentation related to them. So we can follow up with Colby to see if they provided additional pictures or any sort of cost breakdown or.
Great. I mean, because there aren't any pictures with what I'm looking at. So, and then I would want to know, has anybody on the board actually seen these tremendous benches? Because there's not just one actually, but 2 neighborhood purpose grants in 2018 and 2019. Each time they got $1,000 for 2 picnic benches, bringing the total to 4. So this just seems like, something that gets done automatically. And I'd love to see a more equitable distribution. And if we were going to get a bench, do some costing out of alternatives. If Sean has something that's half as much, we should look at that, which leads to the next question. Is anyone here aware of any index of local charities that has been conducted either by this council or by the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment? Because my sense is, I can probably list 100 charities in the area or find or research a list. And do they even know that this sort of thing is available? Which then leads to the next item. And that is, I think this should be agendized on the board as a, what do we want to spend our money on? What are our priorities? $32,000 isn't a ton of money, but we can certainly make the best possible use of it. And I do, I'm very fiscally conservative when it comes to spending taxpayer dollars, which we should all be taking the greatest care to administer, because we're fiduciaries, we're responsible for this. But we're hearing again and again, not just in this meeting, how important cleanup is and how desperately that's needed. So that would seem to be a priority of the council overall. But certainly, I think it should be a topic of discussion so that we can decide. And that will help us to direct our funding more strategically, and perhaps also some outreach to charities in the area, ones who have not been the recipient of neighborhood purpose grants in the past. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. To address your question about whether or not there is an index of charities in the area kept by either us or Empower LA, I'm certainly not aware of one that GTLNC has, and I have no idea if one is kept by Empower LA, but that would be an interesting thing to look into, because I do think very few people know about NPGs existing. And one of the things that I previously recommended at an outreach meeting is actually putting together a sort of FAQ on our website about what is an NPG, who is eligible for it, how does it work, how do you apply, to make this process more accessible to anybody who's interested in it.
I'm sorry, Catherine, someone actually just knocked on the door when you were responding. So you're suggesting that we do an FAQ on the website and that perhaps an index of local charities is put together. Is that what you said?
I wasn't necessarily suggesting that we put together that index. I was just saying I'm unaware of one existing, but
Okay.
related, I have previously suggested that we have an FAQ page on our website.
Yeah,
so
that's
that
a great idea.
people understand NPGs a little bit better.
And could we please agendize this, neighborhood council funding priorities, have a general discussion about that? Because I think that's really important. Then we will have less back and forth about how the money is actually spent when we're more aligned with what our priorities are.
Yeah, I'd recommend that be something that we do either annually or biannually. It would be great to do it at the meeting following our organizing meeting every year. Once all the committee chairs are set, and maybe even have their first committee meeting, so that each committee can have a conversation internally about what they're looking to do for that upcoming year.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'm gonna skate the edge of recusing on this, because I know Tammy and I know what's going on. I'm gonna go over there tomorrow morning with Sean and I'm gonna get information. I'm not gonna vote. I'm not gonna have anything to do with anything other than fact finding, but I feel like that's not ridiculous for me to get involved in, unless you really think it's against my best interest to do so, and I won't, and I'll completely stay out of this. But
I think out of an abundance of caution, I'd recommend you are welcome to, as a member of the public, have conversations with Tammy over at the school. But when it comes time to discuss and report back to the board, you should let Tammy be the one that speaks.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to see if she can come to because we're going to agendize this at the board meeting, correct?
It is on the agenda for the board meeting next Tuesday.
So I'm going to go there tomorrow morning with my buddy Sean, and he's going to be the board rep. I'm going to be an individual stakeholder whose kid goes there. And we're gonna do some fact finding and figure out what's going on. What's up?
Out of probably the best course of action is for you to contact the city attorney and just have her tell you what you can and can't do.
Okay. Fair enough.
That might be the safest way to do this.
Sure. And that's fair enough. Can you say, I don't know that I have that email address. I'm sure I can find it. I'll get it. But yeah, sure. That's probably the best thing to do. I certainly don't want to get in trouble. But I don't want to spend $1,000 on a park bench either. I want to find out what this is about. So
thanks. All right. I do see Brandon has his hand up. So Brandon, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Yes, I like to, maybe I don't want to bring a damper on anything, but I like to remind the neighborhood council, the board that as per the charter for neighborhood councils, the purpose of the budget that is given to the neighborhood councils by this the city, basically, and it used to be within the $50,000 range. Now it's much less. It's basically for minus operational expenses, basically for outreach. And so you have to justify everything you do, even in a neighborhood, MPG, that how it's going to promote the neighborhood council in a whole. It has to be that way. So if you finance an anime object, you got to make sure that anime object hopefully has the logo of the neighborhood council on it, or some sort of a recognition by the benefactors of that the neighborhood council has done it, whether it be in some sort of advertisement or social network area, or just a logo there. It's not, I mean, when I chaired the public safety committee for Studio City for 3 years, I was constantly bombarded by, the fire department and some other organizations that needed equipment and stuff like that. But, the equipment racks and stuff like that are inside the department. Nobody sees it. And I couldn't justify any of that stuff, and it would have never passed the board, at least the board at that particular time that I was dealing with, because there was no way of basically justifying it for an outreach purpose. When you do events and everything like that, we used to have the National Night Out and things like that. The neighborhood council's handprint is all over it. And if you do, give a grant for benches or for anything else like that, it really has to be justified where you can basically put some sort of an outreach on there to do that. That I won't mention exact neighborhood council that did go into exhaustive efforts, but they were constantly doing things, very good charitable giving, but it had nothing to do with outreach. I mean, nobody knew about what they were doing. They were just doing good deeds, but it never translated into anything outreach for that neighborhood council. And they kept constantly going into exhaustive efforts until the done cut their funding off, and they had to basically learn how to basically do that. So you got to remember, it's per our charter. It's basically the money is given for outreach, and you have to. So like I said, other than expenses where you have computers and things like that. If you have an office, you're renting space and everything, you're printing material and things like that, or what have you, and other things like T-shirts and everything. That again, you buy the T-shirts. Not only the board members and the members of the neighborhood councils are wearing the T-shirts, but you give them out to the stakeholders if they sign up on some of your.
All right, Brendan, that is 3 minutes.
Yeah, so you got to remember that.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
So you probably know better than I do, but this is the first that I heard that all of our money is supposed to be dedicated to outreach. My understanding was it is about a benefit to the community. So I would like us as the executive committee to maybe do a little more research on that, because I've never heard that all of our money, according to the charter, is intended for outreach.
Yes, it's intended for outreach. I mean, I've been involved with the neighborhood council since 2010, and you balance that, of course, with the benefit for the community, but it has to be somewhere along the line. You have to say, what is this going to do for the outreach of the neighborhood council?
Okay.
And we used to bargain with organizations on where's our logo going to be? Where's our recognition going to be? I mean, it seems like a heartless thing to do, but that's really what the money was presented for. So a lot of neighborhood councils turned down a lot of requests for things that are. I mean, listen. I mean, you can if you can balance that would be that's you have.
All right.
The best.
Thank you, Brandon.
Right.
It is 3 minutes. Thank you. All right. I believe everyone else that has their hand up at this moment has already spoke on this for the 3 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to Nick. You said you had another item of new business.
And I wanted to speak, Catherine.
No.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Robin.
I apologize. It was actually this was it that I wanted to bring up. I didn't realize you guys had already gotten your hands on it. So great. I'm out of it.
So I want to address two things. One is the MPG. It came across my email, and I just wanted to find out how the MPG came to the neighborhood council. What is the source of the MPG? Where did it come from? Does
I do
anybody
not know where it came from other than from Rio Vista Elementary School
Well,
and the principal
the
there,
I
Tammy
was-
Fernandez.
I was asked to give it to some, and I think I forwarded it to Colby.
To Colby. Okay,
Pretty
so
sure that's what happened.
it was sent to you, and then
Then I
you
forwarded
sent
it over to Colby.
and then Colby sent it to me. Okay, so you're the source.
Yeah,
Um,
which I don't know. Now that I know that I shouldn't have done that, I don't know if that means.
yeah, so
what that
Nick, this
but-
is really good that we're having this discussion in exec and not at general board. And it is an absolute conflict of interest for you to be in any form of discussion whatsoever, not even to the point where you should be going to the school because your daughter is a student there. So, we all took the code of conduct and the ethics training and all that. So I'm just advising you as somebody who's been on the board for a while. And as Arthur pointed out, I would contact the city attorney and find out what you can and cannot do. Because if we were meeting in person, you would have to recuse yourself from the room. And while the discussion was even being talked about, like you wouldn't even be in the room. So right now you would be off the Zoom call because
I just emailed it to the attorney
I know,
literally
I know.
2 minutes ago.
And
So
Nick,
I'll find out.
I'm not reprimanding you.
So, and I want to remind, we're not voting on this tonight. We're
Yeah,
not
we're
approving
not.
this money. We're
not.
just alerting people that this exists.
Yeah.
So
And-
I think we're not in a conflict of interest, real, like you have done something wrong, Nick,
No.
area, because we are not voting on this tonight.
Correct. And so
Thank you.
the other thing is, like I said, you would recuse yourself from the Zoom call completely. And then when we have the vote, you wouldn't be there. And then we would bring you back in. So just, any further discussion, I wouldn't, even as a member of the public, I wouldn't get involved. If you want to know about it, that's great. But the best scenario would be to have the principal of the school come to our general board meeting, talk about what it is that they want. And just FYI, $7,700 approximately is what, a third of our budget. It's lovely that they need these benches and I would support our local schools in lots of ways, but it is extensive. And I think that the board's gonna kind of look at the amount and wonder, wow, that's a lot of money. So she would
Yeah.
almost be best to rethink this, come back with maybe photos and what it is that she's asking for, and maybe come in with a less amount. It might be easier to get the board on board, with this if it's not quite as extensive as it is. But again, if she wanted to just come and talk without even the MPG, I would love to do this. These are the reasons why, and sort of tell us about it and then get the board's sort of feeling about it and then go back and write an MPG. That might be the best way to do it.
And I would also note, she will need to resubmit this. There are some things that are
Well,
left
Vice
incomplete,
Principal didn't sign.
including the fact that there is no listing of NC board members that have a potential conflict of interest, which would be you, Nick, or any other parents at the school.
And Dianora Mendoza did not sign this as well. So
Yeah, so this is an incomplete application and we are not voting on this tonight, nor will we be voting on it at next Tuesday's meeting. To
but
be
we'd
clear.
love to hear from her if she wants to come and speak.
100%.
And then the other thing I wanted to quickly bring up is Tess sent a list of website fixes. And I just wanted to kind of throw this out there that she had requested that the email that's sent to, let's see, which stakeholders write. And she was kind of hoping that there'd be a general email that all the board members would be alerted of. And the only issue I have with that is if all the board members are aware of something, and then let's just say 4 of them respond in many different manners, it's best to have one person sort of in charge of that, rather than the whole board sort of responding, or maybe it can be talked about in committee or something, and then the public gets responses. And then lastly, you know, I think this new board is really fantastic. I think we have a board of really, really enthusiastic, very committed board members. And, you know, these meetings are not to vote upon things necessarily that are done deals. The reason we have meetings is to have discussions. And we welcome the community to speak on behalf of everything we do, because we are spending your money, our money, all of our money. And it is our obligation to always side on what's best for the entire community, not just particular areas. So, you know, I feel like we get a lot of accusatory comments, and we are trying really hard to listen. That's what we're here to do. We're here to listen, and we're here to understand the actual needs of the community. So please give us a chance. It's a new board. We're trying. We do hear you, and we are trying to make changes. So that's it.
All right. Before we close the meeting, I see a couple hands up. If anyone has additional new business, go ahead and keep your hand up. However, if you are looking to speak on the NPG again, everyone has already spoken on that. So we only have 3 minutes per speaker per agenda item. And we're holding firm to that so that these meetings don't go on forever. So David and Jonathan, David, I see your hand up still. Do you have something, a new business item that is not related to the NPG?
Yes, I do. I'd like to
All right, go
ask
ahead.
you to please, you know, that thing that's where you said you're working on it, quote unquote, could you please agendize that for next time and have a report from the city as to when they're going to be able to provide the opportunity, so that committee meetings are not taken down 2 seconds after they start, and have a report on that. Let's put that on the agenda so it doesn't get moved from month to month. That'd be my suggestion.
Okay, this is related to the website update in order to, so that the documents don't disappear when the meeting starts.
Right. And
Okay.
also to put more documents on the agenda. You're allowed up to 20 words. So lots more words available.
I think we've often gone well past 20 words.
Okay, well, let's use them.
All right, thank you. Go
Thank you.
ahead and lower your hand.
I will.
And Jonathan, if you have something for new business that is not on the NPG.
It's new business. I'll be quick. Remember to separate the treatment of grant money versus whatever has to do with the neighborhood council annual budget. That would slip past my mind, and I thought of that, so I wanted to say that. Also, Nick, really important what Robin said. You were approached by someone. This may be an invalid request for money to even talk about. Robin was right. Be serious, and you got approached. So that I recommend that the neighborhood council take some advice on how to treat it. It's very different. It's incorrect. It was improper of them to approach a board member. Exactly what Nick said. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. All right. Anything else on new business? Hearing none, seeing no hands up, go ahead and close this meeting at 7:47 p.m.